My name is Zachary Price. I am a strategic analyst in research and prospect management. I'm also an inaugural participant in the CASE residency program for the fiscal year 2019. Thanks, Scott. I also have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from North Carolina A&T State University, a master's degree in higher education from Indiana University Bloomington, and a certificate in institutional research from Indiana University Bloomington.
And I'm Vincent Wilson. I'm a development coordinator at Dartmouth in the Dartmouth College Fund. I'm also a first-year inaugural student for the CASE Residency program, so thank you, Scott. My education background is I went to California University of Pennsylvania, got my BA in sports management, and also got my master's in sports management at Western Illinois University.
Who wants to go up? One moment, ladies and gents. All right. So, as an overview, Vince, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so the overview, we have 4 points that we want to touch base on. So, 1, how did we all fall into advancement? 2, what is the CASE residency program? How is this relevant to higher education? And the last part is, what are some of the accomplishments that we achieved during the residency program? So, from a show of hands, how many of you in this room are fundraisers?
Keep them up. Keep them
up. So, those who have your hands up, keep them up. How many of you in college said you knew you were going to be a fundraiser? Yeah. So that's how we kind of all of us have a story of how we fell into fundraising. So my background falling into fundraising, when I was in college, I majored in sports management and I had aspirations on becoming an athletic director. And that stemmed from me being a former student athlete. When I looked in positions of power within the athletic department, I didn't really see anybody who looked like me in positions of power, so I kind of wanted to change that and reach back and be able to provide opportunities for those after me, since one of the things that really means a lot to me is I like to help people. When I went to grad school, I was able to secure an internship with the athletic department. We had a new AD at the time. While we were there, he was the person who introduced me to development. There's so many different avenues of becoming an athletic director. Didn't know what I wanted to do. He was like, you're really good at talking to people and do development. So then he charged me with creating a comprehensive overview of the athletic department annual fund. And from that I learned a lot about bequest intentions, annual giving, endowed scholarships, and how it played a part and made an impact in a lot of the students' life, including myself. I've always saw the outcomes of what fundraising does. You see the scholarships, you see the construction of facilities, but now I got to see behind the scenes work of how everything came together. And that really inspired me, and I saw that it was a position that I could go ahead and fill that also fulfilled my need to want to reach back and be able to provide opportunities for those after me.
Yeah. On the other hand, I just figured out how to work technology, so thank you. Thank you all for coming in. So I like to consider myself a problem solver. 8 years ago, I had to first figure out the really big problem I had when I was a senior in high school, which was, how am I gonna go to school for free? Right? When I was young, my parents told me, Zach, you've got 18 years of free rent in this house. After you finish, you're gonna go to college and we're gonna help you out, but we're paying for books. And what I quickly realized is that I can't spend 90% of my time in the library and not take classes and figure out how to get a degree. So what we did in turn was look for opportunities for full scholarships. And after some grunt work, after some really long laborious nights, I mean, you name it, we figured out how to do that. And I got a full scholarship to go to North Carolina A&T and study civil engineering. Now, if you'd have asked me 8 years ago, whether I would be standing here in front of you, whether I would be traveling the nation, and whether I would be interacting with folks whose net worth is greater than the GDP of my hometown, whether I would come up to New England and go to lobster bakes and clam bakes and interact with fundraisers raising millions of dollars and have a White Claw in my hand, a lobster in the other, I'd probably ask you what's a White Claw, right? But in my second semester in undergrad, I encountered my second challenge, which was, I'm an engineering student who no longer wants to do engineering. And I have 4 years of paid school, so what am I gonna do? Well, 6 semesters later, 3 amazing mentors, 4 personally created student scholarships at 2 different institutions, and 1 master's degree ahead of me, I am now totally convinced that I love higher education. And what I know as a product of philanthropy, as someone who has a gift that keeps on giving in my life, is that every time I read headlines about the student loan crises, about colleges closing, about all these institutions that we know and love going somewhere, I feel an added responsibility to do my due diligence. So what I hope is conveyed today through this presentation that Vincent and I have given you is how you can make your impact, how Vincent and I have made an impact this year with the Case Residency program, and how to get folks into this righteous cause of continuing to advance these institutions of higher education. Now, back in September, I got a call from a journalist who said, hey, I hear you're part of the Case Residency program. I want to do an interview, and I want to talk to you about why you got into philanthropy. I want to talk to you about how you went from civil engineering to higher education. And I also want you to give me some context as to why we need to continue to funnel diverse individuals into the field. So we chatted. 2 weeks after that, she came out with this article entitled Diverse Fundraisers for Tomorrow's Donors. And it's under this context that you get a really good sense of why the Case Residency program was created in the first place. This next slide, we're going to give you a little quote, but for anyone that wants to read this article in its entirety, all of you have entered in, well, not all of you, most of you have entered in your emails. We'll send this out so you can have more reading on why diversity, why Case, why the residency, and it'll highlight 3 other residents. To my talent managers in the room, I feel like, you know, if you need to make a shout from this quote right here, please do. Right? But this came directly from the article, Diverse Fundraisers for Tomorrow's Donors, and it says, just hoping people fall into the profession is not a talent recruitment strategy. Can't argue with that. And it's not a sustainable one, right? So this is the reason why Vincent and I wanted to be a part of this first year, this inaugural year, this extreme blessing of an opportunity it is to continue to funnel folks into this program and to continue to make an impact advancing institutions that we care about. Right, so now I'm sure y'all are asking, what's the Case Residency program, right?
So the Case Residency program is a 50-week program. It allows students who recently graduate to kind of get into advancement. So what Case did was they went ahead and they created and addressed a need for a talent pipeline of young talent to show them what career opportunities are available within frontline fundraising. So many of us, like you said, we didn't know we were getting fundraising, we didn't know there's career opportunities going in. So with the 50-week program, there's 2 different avenues that people have taken. So some people, they take an avenue of, they do a rotation where they go ahead and they do a couple weeks over in alumni relations, they do a couple weeks in annual giving, do a couple weeks in, gift recording maybe, or a research analyst like Zach. And others have more of a focus group. So Zach and I have more of a focus where we stayed mostly in one role, but we got a deeper understanding of that role and how it played a large part in advancement. So with that, we also had the opportunity to have a 2-week departmental exchange program. So Zach went on his, he was able to do something with AR, where I used mine, and I was able to shadow Emma, who's up there. She allowed me to go on her and see how she cultivated, qualified, and closed some gifts with donors. So I got to see how the ask was made and see how frontline fundraising really plays a part. And as we move forward, forgot the mentors part. So can't forget our mentors, and one of my mentors is up there, which is Al Misha Reddy. And my other mentor was Rick Cote. They both have been at Dartmouth for several years and have a lot of institutional knowledge that they were willing to share with me and help groom me as the process went on.
Yes, definitely.
So this is a picture of us at Case 5 in Chicago. We all look very happy.
It's not fake.
It wasn't fake, it was all genuine. So this was the second time that all the case residents were able to get together. The first time in Seaford was you guys, the case residents here, or meeting each other for the first time. This is kind of the halfway point where we got to see what have we learned over the time period. This took place in Chicago, and we got a lot of opportunities to go ahead and engage with other advancement professionals, primarily from Midwest institutions, kind of seeing what works best for them. We shared ideas of what are best practices, and we were able to see, like, all right, at Dartmouth we do this, and what do you guys do? And I was able to share some ideas that worked really well at Dartmouth, as well as take some ideas from other institutions, especially when it came to smaller shops that had to deal with like stewardship, as we continue to work on that and kind of get different ideas moving forward. And from this slide, we highlight a couple of our residents. So on this corner, we have Grace Blackwell. She went ahead and she did her host institution at North Carolina State University, and her big accomplishment was she was actually calling a donor to thank them. It was a stewardship call, and through that, through active listening and asking strategic questions, she found out that it was a major gift prospect. And she was able to work with the major gift officers to kind of create a pipeline for this person. The next one is Olivia Covington. She went to Iowa. That was her host institution, and she's also now employed by Iowa College. And while she was there, she was able to cultivate, qualify, and build a relationship with the donor and secure her first major gift of $53,000 for the School of Engineering.
Yeah, and some other highlights from the residency from this past year. We have Mariama, who was at the University of Washington, and she was able to increase the scope of their Black graduation that they had through crowdfunding. And I mean, these are things that are amazing, that folks that are just getting into advancement, they're starting to make an impact in big ways, right? We also had Lindsay Knight, who was able to raise $255,000 with her annual scholarship gala at Elgin Academy in Chicago. Now, the big one and the big picture that you see in the smiling faces, those three residents are Ryan Steele, Olivia Covington, and Jesus Rangel. They were able to fly all the way out to San Diego, have a conversation with the Board of Trustees for CASE, international organization, and their president, Sue Cunningham, and talk all about their accomplishments with the CASE residency program. Now, folks are shaking their heads like, well, this is nice, like, what does it mean for me, right? What does it mean that we are bringing students in who are raising gifts? What does it mean that we're bringing people in to do different work that might not be applicable to your day-to-day operations? And I'm gonna tell you why it's relevant to you. Right, so if you are a staff member who supports students, I want you to clap for yourself. Where are you? Where are you? Okay. Y'all a little shy today, that's okay, it's 4, I understand. If you're a faculty member, clap. You teach anybody? Okay. Maybe one day, aspirations. All right. If you are a current student, I want you to clap for yourself. Go ahead, Kiara. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Anybody who works in advancement, I want you to clap too. All right. Okay. Now, I hope you all will keep that energy, because what we're going into right now is some of the most pressing and persistent issues in higher education. Right? These are the things that are keeping presidents up at night, and they're keeping our leaders up at night, they're keeping students up at night. And I'm sure if you open up any article in recent history, you'll see things about endowment growth having to expand, people having issues with financial aid, expanding student support and access, the millennial wealth transfer that we're completely unprepared for. I mean, all of these negative headlines, and the question is, well, who's helping to solve all of these things, right? Who's helping to advance and push the institutions forward so that way these challenges are not so persistent? So, who is it, right? Who is it? Now, if you go to any institution, and it doesn't matter where it is, it could be a preschool, it could be Dartmouth, it could be the University of Iowa, there is a host of people at the top of the institution who are giving it a vision as to this is where it should go, right? They are laying out the groundwork for growth. In my master's program, we would always say, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. Which means that at every moment we have to figure out where we're trying to go next. And so what advancement does is help us to figure out, well, we know where we're gonna go, how are we gonna get there? And we get there through the recruiting, the retaining, and the nurturing of all of our campus members that are involved. Right, so whether you're a faculty member, whether you're a staff member, whether you work in advancement, you work in facilities, you work in residential life, advancement has and touches on every single portion of those jobs, right? So you're just clapping for yourself. You should also be clapping for increased support and engagement that comes from filling a pipeline for financial aid, coming from filling a pipeline for financial or foreign study. If you're a faculty member and you want a competitive salary, we've got that. If you want, if you want more reasons to send people to the museum, well, we just built a new museum, right? All of these things help to retain, to recruit, and to nurture the people that are here so we can continue to grow, we can continue to develop, and we continue to say that, yeah, we do love our institutions. And if you'd like to learn more about what Dartmouth is doing to help advance their own institution through advancement, you can visit the Call to Lead website at calltolead.dartmouth.edu. All right, so now Vince, what do we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about philanthropists. So when you hear the word philanthropist, who are some people that you think of? Anybody can shout their name out.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
There we go.
of course.
And they all have a lot of money, so we all look at them as philanthropists. But actually, everyone in this room is a philanthropist. As you see what the definition says, it's one who makes an active effort to promote human welfare, now especially by the generous donation of money to good causes. But in our profession, especially with frontline fundraisers, we're kind of the liaison between the donors and the institution. Everyone who works in the higher education institution, our objective is to create access for education, which is going ahead to promote human welfare. And by us being that liaison, find what the donor is interested in and how it aligns with the institution's goals and values, their goal, we can go ahead and help them give to a good cause. So within that, becoming a philanthropist, it was 4 main points that Zach and I took away from the case residency program that we felt would help us become better fundraisers, more successful in our career, as well as be able to engage better with philanthropists who give large amounts of money. And one of them was to be open-minded. So Zach and I always joked about when I first became a development coordinator, I was given the classes of 1944 to 1949. So I was very hesitant because I was like, how am I going to relate to them? I'm 27, they're 90. They went to Dartmouth prior civil rights. I'm a black guy and I just went bald into a beard. I was like, how are they going to receive me? Am I going to scare them? Like, how are we going to work collectively? But at the end of the day, I had a job to do, and that was to raise money with the classes that I had to deal with. So I had to go into it open-mindedly, and honestly, I've met some of the best head fundraisers, volunteers I've met through those classes. One of my favorite volunteers is the class of 1947. Would have never thought him and I had so much in common, but I do, and that was literally being open-minded. And with me being open-minded, I've been able to collaborate with these classes successfully and work towards setting new goals, making sure that they reach their expectations. In this past year, I've been able to work successfully with them, so all 5 of my classes combined, I was able to achieve a goal I also set for myself, which was be able to raise $1 million for the annual fund collectively with all 5 classes.
Well, y'all were just clapping. That nervous clap when you don't know when to clap. It's okay to clap. We appreciate you all. The next thing that I learned, and particularly is important for my work as a researcher, was asking strategic questions and listening. This is a concept that I actually learned as a student affairs professional. It's super important when you're thinking about how do I build up trust with students who are completely different from me, going through all types of challenges, and they're wanting to know, I just want to know how to make it here at this institution. The only way you build trust is by asking good questions and listening. But asking strategic questions is about having a purpose in mind, right? It's about having a direction to go. It's about knowing and understanding what is it that we're trying to encapsulate here with this relationship. And as a researcher, I'm not as front-facing as I once was with students that would come to me with issues 9 times a day. Now, I'm having to ask strategic questions of the data. Now I'm having to listen to where's the data going? How can I build a profile of a donor when I have not met them at all once in my life? All I have is a set of publicly available data that comes at a very steep price, thanks Mike, that we use to help determine what is it that they're interested in, how much are they going to be able to give to the institution, and who should be engaged, because your time is precious. So one of the skill sets that I was able to develop was identifying really good prospects, identifying people who should be staffed, and also identifying people who should probably be let go, right? And helping to push and work with my officers, continuing to work on this goal of asking strategic questions, building a relationship, not just with the data, but also with the officers that I work with, to make sure that we are engaging and using our time efficiently so that way we can maximize the opportunity for giving to this institution. Which goes really, really well into my next point about prioritization. Residents, if you don't hear anything else, if you go to sleep for the rest of this presentation, hear this. Prioritization is key. Every researcher, and y'all can attest to this, right? We know about the rabbit hole, right? And the rabbit hole is being overly curious, being interested in something that doesn't really lead to anything fruitful. And the next thing you know, an hour has gone by and you're like, man, I'm hungry for lunch and I have 500 and 600 things that I need to do, right? I was tasked with this year having to do the residency program in addition to the full-time job as a strategic analyst. So I'm working 2 jobs. Prioritization is key, right? And the way that you're able to stay prioritized is to stay focused on, well, what's most important, right? Is it more important that I figure an email out, or is it more important that I give a rating that an officer really needs to push a conversation forward? And because of this, figuring out what's most important with my time, I was able to figure out how I wanted to structure my 2-week exchange. One of those weeks, and it really wasn't a week, it was more like some months, I spent with alumni relations. Hey, Cheryl. And
Appreciated it.
yeah, no, I appreciate you. We spent some time thinking about how are the affiliated groups, and those are the minority groups, the BATA, the Black alumni, Latino alumni, gay and lesbian alumni, how are they engaging? And how can alumni relations continue to push their moves and initiatives forward? So after working and doing an 18-page project, in addition to learning how to support my gift officers better, Alumni Relations has now created an engagement strategy for the fiscal year of 2020 to move forward with initiatives that have come out of the benchmarks we've established through the data, like to a more event participation, the key markets for each of the affiliated groups, and the most attended events. So, Vince?
Last but not least, find your own style. So I had the privilege of working with the Dartmouth College Fund, and I have a lot of people with brilliant ideas within the department that I work with. Heidi's always coming up with new ideas. Sandy has really good ideas. Chris back there, she does really great work with our communication and kind of finding where I fit in with this. So one of the things I definitely was working on, especially with my older classes, was stewardship, and how could I make it relevant to them. So like Heidi comes up with all these ideas all the time, and they're, you know, forward thinking, and you're like, man, that's really, really great. She has the classes in the 2000s. And I'm like, that may not be relevant with what happens in 1940, 1950, 1960. So how do I do that? And then it really went back to being your authentic self. So I can't be Heidi, I can't be Sandy. I can take bits and pieces from them and try to incorporate it in myself. And one of my styles was I went ahead and wrote thank you notes to all my alums at first and the widows, because in some classes I had more widows than I had a lot of alums. But they also donated, so I had to thank them. And from that, that kind of became my signature with dealing with the alumni. And then from this past year, I went ahead and was pretty much put in charge of piloting the thank you program. The thank yous, interactive engagement with alums, where we create videos and send it to them and thank them. So with that, I was able to go hire students and have them create videos. And at the very beginning, I was writing scripts. I was like, you know, all the old alums love my notes, so they're gonna love when you go ahead and read it. And honestly, when the first videos came out, the students did. I sat back and I was like, this doesn't seem authentic at all. It seems like they just read a script. So moving forward, I scrapped the entire script, went ahead and rewrote one, but this time I just highlighted certain points and I told all the students, I want you to be your authentic self. So tell them why you're thankful to be at Dartmouth. Share your story. What do you really like about Dartmouth? I don't care if you say, I really love 53 Commons because I can eat all the time. Or I really love being on the green. And honestly, from that, when they created those videos, we got responses from alums like, oh, this is great, because they can go ahead and connect. Because one thing about Dartmouth is something that everybody probably remembers, whether it's being on the green, whether it's Winter Carnival, anything like that. And so the students went ahead and they got more comfortable doing these videos. And we've been able to see a lot of donors, like open rates with the emails have gone up. And moving forward, we hope to see that it increases retention with those who weren't as consecutive givers. And now they can feel appreciated. Now they can put a face with what their gift is going with. So they can kind of see an impact, like, oh, I made a gift, and now, you know, Susie, who's a 21, is now thanking me. I'm like, oh, I've helped do that. So that's our main goal. Thank you. What else did we accomplish? There's a couple things. Yeah, we got a couple more things that we did accomplish this year with the residency program. So first, with the classes, being open-minded, like I said, working with the older guys, I was able to help 2 of my classes achieve the highest participation rate. Class of 60, I helped them set their 59-year out record for all classes 59 years out for dollars raised. And as people who work in the DCF knows, class of 1960 can be very challenging. I also, at homecoming, I created the first Widows Luncheon, which is an ongoing project what I continue to do, but I was able to get a couple of widows who are locally come together, have tea and cookies, and let them meet each other and kind of thank them for what they do and get their ideas on moving forward, how we can go ahead and kind of create a sense of community amongst the widows, because there's a lot of them that are around and are active with Dartmouth and do like to give, but how do we go ahead and engage them? And the last one was Thank You. As I mentioned before, you know, Thank You was kind of a program. I was kind of like, not voluntold, but they were like, hey, Vince, you're really good. You know a lot of students, you should probably do this. And I kind of had to learn, and from that, I've been able to really enjoy it and kind of see how it's growing, and looking forward to working more with it. And like Kate Barlow here now, she's going to help me with Thank You as we continue to try to map out ideas for the future.
And for me, I'm not Vince, so I'm glad that we're able to have 2 separate columns. For me, the research department was able to set strategic goals for the year in increasing the amount of rated alumni that we had in our system. And to do this, I mean, this is really funneling people back into the pipeline to make sure that we have accurate information. This is the starting point of a prospect's life cycle right here in research. And what happened is I also volunteered to rate and look at the Young Alumni Group as an initiative from the campaign. So when we started, we had 11% of young alumni, these are folks from 03 to 15. 11% of them rated. I helped to identify folks who looked like really good prospects that should be rated, that should be staffed. And we bumped that number up over the past few months to 19.4%. I also created, as I mentioned before, an 18-page data packet, which is now helping to inform alumni relations engagement strategy goals. And I'm also assisting with Pam Smith and the stewardship team, working on donor stewardship plans that will help to keep at the forefront donors who have given really large sums of gift that might, you know, kind of go by the wayside. We're going to help to get a very strategic plan for them now. And we're in the guinea pig phase, so that's kind of been my years being a guinea pig. So those are the things that I wanted to add. In addition to, I got to take some time out on the West Coast as the other half of my exchange. That was actually a week. Shadow gift officers, shadow my mentor, John Cormier, in New York. And all of that culminated into my residency program. So it's not over, but it's over, right? So what Vince and I ultimately want to do, and this is the ultimate goal of the residency program, is to be frontline officers. We feel like that's the place where we can make our biggest impact. It's where we've gotten the best opportunities for mentorship and guidance. And so we appreciate all of the opportunities that we've had all year to grow, and we look forward to officially moving into something like that in the future. So, without further ado, Andrew, you walked in at the perfect time. All right, so we want to thank some really key people that helped to make this year possible. All right, Bob Lasher, Andrew Davidson, Andrew Keefe, we appreciate your investment in this program and your support of this program, helping to get this going with Dartmouth. To Alexis Kanda-Olmstead and Lesa Knapp, we want to thank you both for facilitating and helping to move and push this program forward as well.
We want to thank Scott Harris and Anita Walton, who can't be here with us. They are the face for the Case Residency program. We've been with them since the very beginning when we were trying to figure things out, and they've been a great resource for us. Also, I want to thank Sylvia Rocca, who's not here, as well as my supervisor, Mark Harris, and the rest of the DCF staff for always being there to kind of support me. Whenever I have a question, you guys have an open door policy. You're always willing to share ideas with me. Also tell me if I'm kind of messing up. I really appreciate that. And also want to highlight my mentors, Michigan and Rick Cote. They've always been able to, whenever I had a question, they would never steer me away. They would go, okay, I know she hates me coming downstairs asking questions all the time, but I do it. And Rick, no matter how busy he is, he will always find a way to make time for me.
Yeah. And I'll just highlight my supervisor, Mike Foote. Thank you for continuing to invest in this and support me throughout this. And the research team for being patient with me when I'm not in my office. And everyone that has come out today, thank you all for coming out and for supporting this. It means a lot that all of you all came to hear it. So without further ado, if you have any questions, please ask us. We are ready for whatever daggers y'all gonna throw at us today. You're ready. No questions?
No questions?
Wow. Residents, y'all have any questions?
No.
That's okay. Y'all ready to go?
I have a question. So you all talked about the landscape of higher education as well as you're ready to be frontline fundraisers. Can you tell me, as you know, this is about creating a pipeline for racially and gender and sex diverse pools of people to come into the field.
Yeah.
Our demographics in higher education is changing, right? At Dartmouth, we have 40% students of color, right? We have at times 51% women, and we don't know our trans community, right? Because we don't necessarily collect data on that.
Right.
But how should we be thinking about our next campaign when our population of alumni will be shifting as we have this 40% student body that will turn into alumni? What should we be doing to engage those people as we engaged you all in being a part of it? What are your thoughts?
I think you should give Cheryl Bascom a call and talk to her about all of the wonderful things that they're doing in alumni relations right now to continue to engage populations that haven't historically been engaged and had data on them like they do right now. And moving forward, a continued investment in the residency program. Like we said, one of the things that's a student affairs term, right, that we don't always use here in advancement is cultural empathy, right? It's this idea of, I want to bring you in the room. You should be able to interact with anybody that I bring in, but if our demographics are completely, monochromatic, and I'm not just talking about in race, I'm talking about everybody is from similar backgrounds. Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so when you bring in people from diverse backgrounds, the whole point is to create conversation that creates dissonance, that then creates learning, right? And so in order to move, you have to know what you don't know. And that's why alumni relations came, they wanted their data. And that's why we brought data about what we've done this year and why we should continue to invest in programs like this that are pushing that needle forward.
You said everything.
Retweet.
Any other questions?
I'll give it a shot. So I'm one of the residents. I'm at the University of Toronto this year. So just for all the residents, I guess, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who's on a one-year residency, who's very new to the field, might not have much experience, to make sure their ideas are taken seriously and that they can actually have an impact while they're in their position?
Well, that one ties into one of the key factors that we talk about. ask strategic questions. Don't be afraid to ask any question, and definitely be an active listener. Be willing to go ahead and volunteer and try new stuff. Also, when you go to these case residency programs or they put you in different places, always network, talk to people, ask ideas all the time. That's how you constantly learn. That's what you're going to learn what you don't know. Don't be afraid to try something new. Even if you fail, you at least tried. And you kind of don't know what you don't know, and you'll find out what avenue that you want to go in. You might do frontline, like shadowing, ask like, hey, can I shadow him? Like, you know what, I don't want to ask people for money.
Yeah.
And you might go to alumni relations, like, oh, this is great, I love doing behind the scenes work. You might go to requesting or gift recording and be like, I love processing gifts. Like, try different things and ask what everybody does. You might want to be a research analyst like that.
Maybe. No, in all seriousness, I think the biggest learning curve for me was if you want to be taken seriously, you got to take yourself seriously first. Meaning that you were brought here, whatever campus you are, you were brought there to do a job. So I'm a problem solver, so I'm always thinking about what's the thing I can do to make an impact? How can I get taken seriously? What's the next thing? What's my impact? Well, first off, right, you just have to do your job, period. And once you know how to do your job well, people will start to take your ideas more seriously. And that's been a big thing for me this year in scaling back this need to always contribute to something and just contribute to the things that are right in front of me. And so as you all are thinking about that, those next steps, those folks that are your colleagues that are around you, they're always looking like, what are you doing to help push something forward that we needed? Not what you needed, but what we needed. So if we like you, and you come and bring a positive attitude, you're getting your work done, you prioritize other people's needs, then we can take your ideas seriously. And it takes time to get to that level of trust, so you just gotta be patient with it. And you have to put a little bit of elbow grease into it. When you're doing well, you know, be like, okay, great. When you're not doing well, just say, man, like I'm just not doing it today. And then bounce back.
Are there any things that you know now, that you didn't know a year ago, that you could share with the residents that you gained through the program or sparked through your interactions from meeting different people, things like that?
I'll be quick, Quad. You can be really creative with this thing, right? And I kind of knew that from jump. I'm already creative, so I'm like, oh, I want to do X, Y, and Z. But like, you have things and opportunities around you because of just the case residency that people will open their door and say, oh, you're a resident? I don't know what that means, but yeah, that's cool. We can do X, Y, and Z. We can meet. We can, you know. So take advantage of the brand of the program, and that will continue to brand yourself. And just think outside of the box. Really have an idea of what you want to do, as opposed to what is going to get dictated to you. Because if you just do what's dictated to you, then you're kind of left at the whim of other people's vision for yourself. And you still have to do what you need to do, but think about those things like long term, this is where I want to be, therefore I need to start talking to X, Y, and Z person or doing X, Y, and Z thing. And I knew that, but I think it's just, you got to continue to reiterate that. Like, this is really an experience that you make it.
And then kind of second what Zach said, you got to go ahead and pretty much advocate for yourself as well as go out and try and be creative, because you know we're given a brief template, but it's kind of up to our interpretation of what we really want to get out of it. So it's like, I really want to do frontline fundraising, I want to do X, Y, Z. Let me, you know, utilize the Cakes brand and go to whoever major gift officer is, like, hey, I want to do this, can I shadow you? And I'm like, oh, you're part of Cakes, sure, follow me. It kind of creates your own pipeline. So you can dictate where you want to go. And you're going to get out as much of the program as you put in. But definitely Case provides a lot of resources that you can go ahead and read on. I think one thing that I definitely learned and took back was definitely asking strategic questions and listening. Before I would not ask strategic questions.
Yeah, I talk
listen.
I talk about everything he knows.
And also being more focused. So I'll listen to Zach with prioritization is key. At the beginning, I tried to go ahead and be involved in like everything, and I wasn't necessarily doing one thing extremely well, and I just need to sit down and focus and kind of find out, all right, where's my niche? What can I do? All right, if I do this, then I can make time for this, and how is this going to help propel me to do the next step?
Okay. we'll take you.
What happens if you're doing the residency and you realize that frontline fundraising isn't what you
That's when you can go do a rotation and do alumni relations. Yeah, one thing you might find out, like, hey, frontline fundraising isn't for you, but there's also different avenues within advancement that you have the opportunity through the exchange program, or you can talk to the person that is at your host institution about, all right, you know, frontline's not really for me. What are some other areas in advancements you think that I can contribute to? And go ahead and find out what you like and what you don't like.
I mean, the skill sets are really transferable. If you're able to, it's sales, right? And I don't know that firsthand, but I've been told that it's sales, right? So when you're going and you're talking about your institution, and you're saying this is why you should continue to invest in this, it's easier to sell it because it's an alum who has 4 years invested in whatever other opportunities that they've done that have created the need for them to continue to be involved in some way, shape, or form. For other nonprofits, you know, like a hospital or other places, like it might be a little bit harder to, you know, you might have a smaller prospect pool, you might have this, but it's the same skill set. And so if you like nonprofits or you like working for a cause that you feel really deeply about, that's what this is about. I feel deeply about higher education. I'm staying in higher education. But you might feel deeply about National Geographic rocks. Who knows? Like whatever you want to sell, you know, there's probably a nonprofit out there for you that might work for you. I think with that, y'all look like you're about to glaze over.
Well, we got 2 questions. So you and then Sheriff.
And before your questions asked, make sure before you all leave that you've signed in, just so we have your emails and we can send you good information and get your feedback. Cool.
So it's obviously you guys had a lot of really great mentors this last year, and so in what ways do you engage with your mentors and continue those relationships? And what advice do you have?
The way I engage with my mentors, I'll email one or call them and say, hey, I have a question. If something comes to mind, I'm trying to think of something. I'm like, I'm kind of stuck. And I just reach out to them, grab lunch with them, grab coffee. But the other one, she's in the building, so I can just walk downstairs and just knock on her door. But it's kind of like when you go there, because they're also invested in you. So when you go there, you got to go there with some intentionality. You got to ask them a question because they're also busy. They have time. So both of the people I've as mentors, one's in charge of the engineering school, the other's a major gift author. Their time is money. They have to go ahead and raise money. They don't have time to talk to me about, oh, did you see the game yesterday? So you got to be intentional and just ask them questions. And they feel value when you ask them questions because they're also able to help, groom you and watch you grow throughout the process.
And I think for those that are learning those skill sets of being a frontline officer, like, oh, I'm gonna have a certain amount of touches and I'm gonna figure out something that is gonna help spark some conversation so that way I can get in the door. I mean, you use that same skill set with your mentors, right? You say, I know my mentor is interested in this. Hey, John, I just saw that your father just switched coaching positions. Like what's up with that? These are things that help open the gateway for building relationships, building trust, and then you can go and make the bigger asks, right? An ask might be, hey, I need a letter of recommendation. Hey, I need to go here. Do you know anybody? But you built up a relationship in the same way that you build a relationship with a donor because it's a relationship, right? And so when you think about it that way, you apply that to everybody, your colleagues, your mentors, ways to just touch bases and show that you care because you're listening and you have things to share and they have things to share with you.
Well, this is not a question so much as it is an acknowledgement and hopefully some guidance for those of you who are in the same roles. But Vince and Zach made themselves part of this community. They learned about Dartmouth. Every time I looked up, there was Vince. Zachary, how can I get involved with alumni relations and help you with this thing we're trying to achieve? You really do need to be part of the community. Member of the Black Caucus, we couldn't get by without you. So all of the things that they're doing not only build the relationships with individuals, but with the institution and a real understanding of the culture and what kinds of things their prospects are expecting them to know. And I think they've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. All right, it's a little hot. Y'all feel hot?
Yeah.
Y'all feel hot?
You guys are suited and booted.
It's 80-some degrees out. All right. If there are no more questions, feel free to reach out to us via email. We will all send some information back to you if you give us your email and the sign in. But in the meantime, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for taking some time. Go eat, go feel refreshed, and we'll be talking to you all soon. Thank you.